Driving your wrestling to a new level can be done quickly through using your live wrestling correctly. We like to tell our athletes probably 70% of the time during live wrestling, you are competing like you would in the national finals, because it's important that we do one thing. We want to master the art of winning. There's a lot of athletes who are great wrestlers, but they don't win. And then people say, you're a practice room wrestler. Well, you know what? And it must be a mental thing, right? That's not true. Some people they don't know how to win because in practice, they don't buckle down, wrestle simple and solid, score, ride, hold, turn when you can, get off bottom, stalemate positions when they need to, right? So 70% of the time, we want to focus just on winning and just basically wrestling the same way we would if we were in the state or national finals. Now you're starting to become a good wrestling product, you could say. You're like a finished product. You're like, this dude can beat anybody. Or, if I can have a 2-point match, win, lose, or draw with anybody in America, it's very relaxing. You know that no matter what gym you go into, there's nobody that you can't beat, right? No one can ever blow you out of the water. You watch the elite college guys. The guys who are 2, 3, 4-time All-Americans, even 1-time All-Americans, you look at their career, they didn't get pinned maybe once when they were a freshman. They've only been majored 6 times in their whole career. The other handful of losses that they had were close. 4-1, 4-3, 5-4, overtime. And they won a handful of close matches like that too. But they're like, this dude is always in it. And so that's the reason we like to wrestle about 70% of our live wrestling time, practicing and mastering and honing our skills, trying to, with our academy, Common Theme, and camps too. We want to be the best in the nation at winning. We want to be winners. Master the art of winning on the wrestling mat during a competition, because there's a lot of great wrestlers, but there's not everybody knows how to win. So what do you do with the other 30% of the time that you're wrestling? You mix it up. There are 3 other areas that you can do. Number 1, just wrestle for a lot of points. Don't worry about wrestling smart. Just blow it all out. Try to get 20, 30 takedowns of practice. Take risk. Kind of just see where you need to operate on the edge of your abilities, and sometimes we're operating below that threshold. So taking some practice time and saying, I'm just going to try to score tons of points. Even if it's a great wrestler, that's usually the best one. A lot of times you're having close matches with kids in practice that maybe you shouldn't. So you say, okay, I'm going to grab Jonathan, who I usually barely beat. I'm going to try to beat that kid by 15 points. I bet you beat him by 5 or 6. And then you leave practice saying, I just hit a new level, right? Okay, so that's another thing that you can do. The other 2 ways is wrestle 100% defense. See, in wrestling, you're in offense and defense at the same time. Well, now I'm only on defense. I have a great wrestler. I might do that all practice with all 3 or 4 live wrestling partners. Not take one attack. Now, our rule is we can score from a sprawl, right? So if I sprawl, I'm trying to score. Otherwise, what I will simply do is this. I'm just trying to keep people off my legs. The famous colleges, coaches and stuff, they do this. This is a pretty common, normal tactic. But a lot of high school and youth and middle school teams don't do this, and athletes. We do it all the time. Kids don't always like it, but who cares? It's good for them, right? Now think about whenever I'm 100% on defense, my opponent is 100% on offense. So now we switch, and for the next 5 or 6 minutes, 2, 3 minutes, whatever we decide, my opponent is 100% on defense. He can only score from a sprawl. And now think about how difficult it is for me to score now. It's so hard to score on somebody who, quote unquote, isn't doing anything. Well, guess what you're going to have in the state semis when you're losing by 1 point and there's a minute left in the match? Your opponent is protecting his or her lead. And they're doing it without stalling and running, but they're not doing a whole lot. So when you're put yourself 100% on defense, obviously your partner gets a chance to do that too. So that's going to help your wrestling, because now you're saying, man, you got to have a world-class hard setup, and you have to have a world-class level change, and you're going to have to pull the trigger quick when the opportunity arises. Last thing we do is let people in on our legs. So number one, we wrestle just like it's the national finals. Number two, we wrestle, I'll even say wild. Just try to score 200 points of practice. And then when you course correct and make those adjustments, you're probably going to find you've moved that needle. You've raised the bar and pushed the threshold farther down the line. Then we wrestle offense versus defense and switch. And we know why that is so important. Lastly, we let our opponents in on our legs. So I'm wrestling this partner today, and it might be an easy one. It might be someone who's average. It might be someone who's really good. Doesn't matter. I rotate through those partners nonstop. But now I'm letting people in on my legs deep. Because what happens is the better you get, you're like, I've only been taken down 3 times all year, and no one's ever been shoulder deep on my legs. Whether I'm on my feet still or I'm sprawled trying to apply hip pressure, whatever, they're not going to get in very often because I'm just so damn good it doesn't happen. Then boom, overtime of the state semis match, if someone gets in deep, you're not familiar with the position. You were when you were no good because people were in on you all the time. So sometimes you have to understand that getting really good can be a disadvantage. So let people in deep on your legs all practice, and now you do that 2 or 3 practices in a row. Now you're like, man, I'm a hip pressure machine. I'm not going to falling into scrambling mode, which is completely stupid, right? You don't want to scramble, right? I've got a college buddy, he says, head, hips, tricks, that's the orders. Tricks is basically scrambling. You block with your head and arms, you plow with your hips, you arch, we call what? Feet wide, chest high, knees off the mat, arch till it hurts. That's our system for defense. We have a system for everything. Those of you who follow our online academy and our camps, you're familiar, right? Arch till it hurts, that's a good phrase. So I'm learning, I'm shoring up my defense now. So by letting people completely in on your legs, it's a good tactic. Now think about bottom too. I might let someone lock their hands on a cradle. I might let them put me to my side. I might let, if you're a little kid, you might let someone dig a deep half and say, when I'm on bottom for 5 minutes straight, I might let my opponent get a cross wrist. I'm like forcing myself to wrestle from these bad positions, and I'm letting my opponent get a hold, and then I'm trying to wrestle. You do these 4 tactics during your live wrestling, I think you're going to find that your wrestling hits a brand new level. We've got tons of advice. You ought to check out our YouTube channel for the other 500 something videos. They're long, and if you like a 30-second video, go somewhere else. You can't learn anything in 30 seconds. Let's be honest, all right? Some people say, oh, every YouTube video should be 1.2 minutes to 3.4 minutes, or people won't see it. I don't care. Don't look. Turn it off. Go try to find some 5-second clips. Let's see how good your wrestling career is then, all right? What I just shared with you is amazing advice. I can't say all that in 36 seconds. I'm sorry. It is what it is. So I would recommend turn these videos on while you're driving down the car, listen, right? While you're playing your video games, maybe while you're just kind of bored, right? And then you can save to your playlist, you can earmark some, then you can even click through and say, I've never listened to that video, listen to the first minute, Oh, that was not for me. That's fine. Go somewhere else. But I do think that there's so much cutting edge advice in here. Problem is this. You know enough stupid wrestling moves probably. You're probably getting your butt kicked for other reasons. That's why I started this YouTube channel, right? Is because is to help people, right? So good luck. You can check us out if you wanted to train with us. PurlerWrestling.com. Good luck.